What do you want to talk?
We can get through through that part, and if you want to talk after the medical evacuation, you want to just mention briefly your retrograde movement back to the beach and leaving. Then we can stop. We can think about staging the getting up and going in to see the memorabilia.
Well, if that's where he wants to stop, he should do it right there.
Yeah, you could stop there, and then he can read the passage from Ross's book.
Tape is rolling.
No.
Tape is still rolling.
When he finishes here, he can invite us inside.
Yeah,
we know
right.
it. No, we know.
Oh, we don't have to stop there. Okay.
No, and he can just say that and then get up, and we'll just let the camera sit there, and then we'll go inside. Okay? So we think we can run through the rest of it now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
We have we got the shot, Dean.
Sort of. Kind of a little cutaway for you, as a matter of fact. For later on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Look down at your hands there. Go in a little tighter, Dean. If you can, tilt up a little bit. That's good. Dean. Hold that. Okay. Action.
Okay. After Suribachi was secured, we had a day of R&R, actually, just to take a rest, regroup, get some more people in to replace those that were killed or wounded. The 5th Division assignment at this time was to go up the western part of the island with the 4th Division on our right-hand side. The 28th Marines went straight on up to Hill 362. And of course, by this time, we all realized the fantastic kind of combat we were experiencing, due to the fact that seldom, if ever, did we see a live enemy above ground. If you were to bisect the island and see it in profile, it would appear to be an ant hill. And the commanding general, Japanese General Kuribayashi.
I'm having a little trouble here. Number one, I wobble it. Number two, you never turned my light back on.
Okay, you don't have to hold that long, Dean, on that close-up, okay?
Let me try something.
10 seconds.
Let me pull it real quick. Got it. Okay, I got the zoom turned down a little bit. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, look down and action.
Okay. After Suribachi was secured, we had a day of rest and regrouping. The 28 Marines were assigned to run up the western part of the island with the 4th Division on our right. And we came into this fantastic conglomeration of caves and ravines, a very, very brutal area to conduct this campaign in. One of the things we realized almost immediately was the fact that these Japanese were all underground. And if you really wanted to take a look at Iwo Jima in profile, if you took it side of it off and looked at it, it appeared like an ant hill. The commanding general, Kuribayashi, really made this a fantastic fortress. In spite of the tremendous barrage of naval gunfire, very few of the enemy were taken out that way, because all they did was button themselves up in underground. And now that we were advancing, they would come out and oppose what we were to do. The biggest obstacle at this time for us was Hill 362, and this is where I got into trouble. I was administering a unit of serum albumin to a very severely wounded Marine in deep shock. I believe, if you want to know what this thing looks like, it's about the size, just a little bit smaller than a Coke can. And it's much more efficient to transfuse this rather than blood plasma, especially in severe shock. At any rate, I was holding it up at about probably 6 inches above the lip of the hole I was in with this Marine. And of course, we were under intense fire at that time. And it was mortar fire because these things were just kept humping closer and closer. You could feel the things coming in. And of course, when this mortar round detonated, it shattered the bottle and took part of my, almost part of my index finger off. And at the same time, another chunk spun me around and knocked my helmet off my head and got a little bit into the hairline. It wasn't life-threatening. I was able to take care of it myself and such, but I ended up with one hell of a headache, I'll tell you. On another occasion, we were being hit by phosphorus shells, and I got nailed in the knee. And of course, phosphorus, if you know, it just continues burning unless you could put it out. I had the knee wound taken care of when I evacuated some of my wounded back down to the beach. I had seen a surgeon down there and he took care of it, but in both events it was not a life-threatening thing as I was able to stay on and perform my duties. The most devastating thing that I experienced was, and this was all in the area of Hill 362, and this stays with me to this day. I was just ready to crawl out of my foxhole when I was hit on the back of my backpack and knocked back down into the hole. And I spun around and took a look, and there it was, a Japanese mortar shell that did not detonate. Hit me down, but there was it. You can't imagine the agonizing terror seeing this thing laying there and realizing that, God, is it alive or whatever? It was a dud, of course, but trying to get up, it seemed like it was just an eternity trying to get up enough of energy to get out of that hole. It was like very slow motion, but that took an awful lot out of you. We were experiencing a fantastic number of casualties at this particular area of Hill 362. And because of the intense fire, mostly mortar fire and artillery, but mortars especially, most terrifying, we were experiencing fantastic casualties in traumatic injuries. And trauma at that time, devastating abdominal wounds, shrapnel, traumatic amputations, arms, legs, such. One in particular I'll always remember, this young Marine. We had him already sedated. He was ready for evacuation, and I would just want to check him out before the stretcher teams took him back down to the beach. And I says, "Hey, Mac, how are you doing?" "Oh, pretty well, Doc." I says, "What's the problem?" He says, "Doc, I must have got hit in the arm." He says, "What do you think? Is this going to be okay?" So you lift the poncho, and God, there it is, just a stump. His arm is gone, but he's still lucid. The resolve those young men had, let me tell you, typical Marine Corps, of course. What you could do with these things, tourniquet, morphine, sulfur, but of course the sulfur would almost immediately ooze out because of the blood loss. These were the priority cases for evacuation. It was sort of a triage outfit, if you will. somewhere along the line you had to determine who was the first ones that had to be evacuated back to the beach. We still did not have any vehicular traffic outside of the tracked vehicles for evacuation. There were no roads in that area as yet. One of the little lifesavers was the little tracked vehicle we called the Weasel. It was about the size of a Jeep. We were able to get 2 or 3 casualties aboard this thing, and it was very easily maneuvered over Hillendale and whatever have you. They really were a fantastic little evacuation vehicle. And the other one, of course, were the LVTs. They afforded considerable protection for the wounded because of the steel walls. You were down into the well. The only problem there is if you got hit if you got nailed by a mortar barrage, you might just get one right down in the center, and it wouldn't matter at that time. All of this was down about the airfield around Motoyama, airfield number 1. And I always recall the first time I'd seen my first B-29. Never realized what a fantastically large bird this thing was. This man obviously was this crew obviously were returning from a raid on Japan and had problems, and they were circling in and coming down onto the airfield. The northern part of that airfield was still being contested, but he came down and made his landing as good as it was. And you see these guys tumbling out of that ship. And you look at this and you see one of these people kissing the ground, and you say, my God, what's the matter with that guy? I mean, kissing this hellhole. But to him, it was a lifesaver. And they were asked, would you like to stay overnight? He says, hell no. Just get us fixed up so we could get out of here. And they did. I believe that first B-29 was the Dynamite. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And this was on the 4th of March, 45. We went further on into the areas of the gorge. Kitano Point was the last part of it. Iwo Jima, we were told at the onset that we would clean it up in 3, 4, 5 days. Well, it took us 36 days. 36 days, 5,842 killed. One of the things about Iwo Jima, as a corpsman, we were trained specifically for life-saving things. Our job was saving lives. And frequently, I would ask myself, was I doing enough? Did I do everything I could to take care of this wounded man? It was something that bothered you frequently. One of the things about this, of course, is knowing that you did your best. This is all you could do. On the 26th of March, by this time, of course, the island was secured. The Army infantry came in to take over as garrison forces. The 4th Division has already left. The 3rd Division was going to stay a while longer to clean out most of the resistance that were still mostly caves and such. We were on the beach on the opposite side of the island from where we landed. And for the first time, the whole company was reunited and such, and it was, fantastic to see all of the old fellows, those that survived. And even at that time, the morning of that day was the last hurrah for the Japanese, I guess if you want to call it that. They staged their last, I don't think we really want to call them a banzai charge, but they did have enough of people to run through an area to overrun an area where Army pilots and rear echelon troops were. And in this particular area was where the last Medal of Honor was won by a Marine Lieutenant Harry, oh God, I forget his name, Harry Martin, yeah. So Iwo Jima, as such, as brutal as it was, if there is such a thing as a legacy, it would have to be a legacy of valor. All of those that fought there. I forget, there was something like 80 some odd Medals of Honor awarded in World War II. On Iwo Jima, 27 Medals of Honor were awarded. 4 of those were won by corpsmen. So much for Iwo Jima. Did we cover it all?
Yes. Let me ask you a question. There was one thing you didn't mention. I don't know if we mention it now. Can we edit it in later? I'm going to talk about the medical evacuation. If you saw the C-47.
Oh God, yes.
It's all right.
We hold that shot there.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And when we talk about that, then we go inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
All
you
right.
can say, would you go up and we can get up and look at my some of my memorabilia.
Sure.
Then we'll cut there and we'll move everything in.
How long will it take for the evacuation?
Oh, just 3 minutes.
Okay. Let's just, we won't try to stay wide when he gets up. When he gets up, let him walk out.
Understood.
Okay. You ready to do that then?
Okay.
Okay. Just look up at the camera and start anytime you're ready.
Okay. One of the aspects of evacuation of wounded, we were into these areas that produced fantastic numbers of casualties, mostly traumatic casualties, to a point where it was very, very important to get these people back to the beaches as much as possible, to get to a hospital or to be evacuated off the beach into the hospital LSTs or the hospital ships. And I believe there were 3 hospital ships in operation during the campaign for Iwo Jima. Casualties amounted to many, many, many different types